All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m., please. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Approval of agenda, please.
So moved. Second?
Any corrections? I have some additions. Anybody have anything before I? So I'm going to add fuel oil bid and propane bid further on down. And I'm going to add warrants as well that were not on there. I think that's all I had to add, right? Yep. Okay. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Can I ask a-
Aye.
Oh, yeah. So sorry. Go ahead. It's okay.
I thought we decided we don't have anything to do with fuel bid and propane oil bid. That was just a decision.
I don't know.
Fine, I can share the pricing with the board then if that's.
Yeah,
That we don't need to be a part of that decision anymore.
you don't, but
Either way, I'll share it with you because the pricing's pretty good, so I'll share it with you. And
Okay.
Okay.
I don't
Then
think
you
my
don't have to
recommendation would
necessarily
be any
take
different than
action.
We don't have to take action. Okay.
yep.
Okay. I think it's good to get it out too. And then we just don't take action. Excellent. Thank you. All right, we had the aye, so we're all set. Okay. Let's see, approval of minutes from June 24th.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions, corrections, anything on the minutes? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Tim? There's one abstention. You got it, Bonnie? Okay. Public comment? We have you guys on the agenda, so if you're Project Vision. All right, excellent.
Julie, one thing for the public and
Yes.
for me,
Just 1 second. Yes, Tim?
things are different now, right? What are we? This is a different kind of meeting. The Orwell portion's dropped off, so
So we don't have that fourth Orwell board member.
We're not Addison Rutland.
So we're not Addison Rutland anymore, so we never have that little bit at the top. This is Addison Rutland. We're just Slate Valley
No more Arsu.
Unified.
No more ours, so,
Orwell.
No more R, correct.
correct.
And it's Slate Valley Unified. No modified in there. So, yes, that's the only difference. Thank you for asking. Correspondence. We have two correspondence. We have two lovely thank you notes from people. Remember, we got retirees' clocks. So we have a lovely thank you note from Mrs. Pelletier. Thank you so much for the lovely Slate clock. I have to admit, I always consider myself a Slater. At heart, it has certainly been an honor and a pleasure being part of ARSU and Slate Valley Union. Thank you so much for your thoughtfulness, Linda Pelletier. And then from Mary Ellen Barker, thank you so much for attending my retirement luncheon. This is to Tony. And presenting me with the lovely Slate clock for over 30 years of service on behalf of the Slate Valley Board of Education. The celebration brought back many fond memories, which I hold dearly, and I truly appreciate Tony's attendance. The clock is great! Exclamation point. Thank you, Mary Ellen Barker. So those are two nice correspondence that we received, and I'll give Tony back hers. That's for Tony. That's ours. Any other correspondence?
Nope.
No other correspondence. All right. So now I'd like to move 7 up, Project Vision. Up to right under 5, if you guys don't mind, because they're actually here behind you guys sitting in the audience. So welcome, Project Vision. I'm not sure what they're.
Yep. So we have Chris Halquist here from Project Vision and Matt Prouty. And I'm sorry I haven't met the two other individuals, but here to talk about Project Vision, what it can offer in our community, and ultimately, our role is to kind of approve a survey, and this would be for the fall of 2020, but we kind of wanted to get a head start. We were hoping it would be for this fall, but we missed the deadline for that,
Okay.
so.
And if I could just interject, I think one of those folks is Dan. Yes? Alan, thank you. And what I just wanted to mention was that the part of the reason that these folks are here today is because of connections that we continue to make in the community. And in my board report, I mentioned again a generous grant that we were the recipient of last year from the United Way. And we are also the recipients of another $20,000 grant from the United Way of Rutland County, which is how we first met Chris. at a United Way collaborative meeting. And it's through, I think, those community collaborations and those connections that we continue to learn of more opportunities that could be available for our students, specifically supporting their social emotional development. And so I just wanted to put that plug in and help folks make that connection. But as part of that, Chris invited us to attend a recent Project Vision meeting. Patty also was in attendance at that meeting, so can also speak to it. But I think we were very excited about the opportunity that this could afford to our community and to our students. And because social emotional learning is an absolute #1 priority throughout the school district, we thought it was great and that their timing was very appropriate for bringing this topic up to our board at this time. So thank you all for being here. And I'm sorry about the name.
Well, thank you. Everybody's receiving some information about the Vermont Youth Project. So my name is Chris Hallquist. I am the director of the Mentor Connector. So we are a Rutland County-based mentoring, youth and adult mentoring organization. And so I have with me as well Sarah Roy from the Department of Health, Alan Saltis from Department of Health, and then Matt Crowdy from Project Vision. And so basically what we had, so over the past, I would say probably about 5 years, we have been working with a whole bunch of different youth service organizations, a lot of different friends and partners on strengthening Rutland County for youth. What does that look like? How can we really enhance youth services and really strengthen the area and really look at those outcomes that we have for youth? And so we've been kind of with a community organization kind of coming together. We had a couple different iterations, and most recently we actually just partnered with the Vermont After School, which is a Vermont statewide organization that just signed a contract with Iceland to bring Iceland researchers here to Vermont to actually do the first in America pilot program that really brings some of the research from Iceland to the United States and some of the outcomes. Now, back about 20 years ago, Iceland had some of the worst, they would consider some of the worst youth in the world. So they had some of the highest drinking rates, underage drinking rates in the world. They had some of the highest drug abuse rates in the world as well. And so what they've seen is they actually did a community shift, and they brought the entire community together, and through a lot of different outcomes, which is enhancing after-school programming, working stronger with parents, and then implementing a youth survey in all of their schools, they actually were able to reduce the rates down to, they have some of the lowest rates now in the world. They went from a 47% of alcohol rate down to about, I think it's a 6% now. And it's this just dramatic shift. And so they've worked with a lot of different countries implementing this type of model across on countrywide levels. And Vermont is the first in America to actually ask them and invite them to come here. And Rutland County is one of the first pilot programs to actually house them here in Vermont. And so what we're doing is we actually have been working with them on really bringing. So it's basically a mindset or a model that we're looking at bringing, or we are bringing here to Rutland County. And what that means is that it's based off of a survey that is done inside the school. So we actually do a middle school and high school. We survey all of the youth. So we shoot for between an 85 to 90% rate of completion. And so we survey these youth, and the data goes to the Iceland researchers, so the University of Reykjavik, and that within 8 weeks we actually get the data back. And from that data, we bring together a community entity, organization. We bring everybody who wants to come to the table together, and we bring them all together and we say, okay, now because of this data, what do we do? Now, one of the benefits of this model is that it doesn't just look at the traditional, outcomes of like, why do our kids drink? It really looks at why do we have a society where our kids drink? So it really kind of takes that step back and says, what is the why of the why? Oftentimes we look at, kids are bored and that's why they start drinking, or, they don't have enough activities. Well, this really encourages us to take that step back and say, what are the reasons that our kids are bored? What are the reasons that our kids feel like they're not valued by the community, or that they don't have a place here in the community? And so we as the community then can decide, what are we going to do to kind of change this model. So a couple different things that Iceland has done is that they actually implemented they implemented a card where every youth has this card, and they have some money on it, like $500, and that they can use that $500 for after-school programming. And so they actually have access to after-school programming. Another thing that they did is that every youth has a hobby. And this isn't just about like playing cards or stamp collecting. It's really like a hobby that's enhanced. And they actually have all of the community organizations come together and really enhance that mindset so that all youth have a hobby, so that they have something to do out of school time. And so this model is really a community-based model that brings the community together to say, what are we going to do for our youth? So right now, we had been invited to have kind of two different pilot programs here in Rutland County. One is working with the city. So we're implementing the survey in the city this year and bringing a community together. And then the second one was we invited Fairhaven to be that second area. And because of timing, we couldn't get the survey implemented this year, but we are invited to get that survey implemented next year, so in October of 2020, and really spend this next year on capacity building, so bringing together people who within the region really who are passionate about youth and really can hit the ground running once we get the data back. And so you're gonna see right in front of you, there's actually a sheet that talks about the survey. Now, unfortunately, I have not seen the survey, and one of the challenges is that the survey is a proprietary survey, so they actually don't release the survey until you sign on for it. But one of the benefits is that Rutland City is actually doing the survey this year. So if anybody's really interested, become a sixth grader and go to Rutland City and take the survey. But we do get some information back. So this sheet will kind of give you some information about that survey. Some types of questions, kind of the overview of the survey. It's the closest thing that we have in America to this survey is the YRBS. Now, one of the things that this does differently is, as you'll see, is that it really asks a lot more of out-of-school supports. What actually is going on to kind of drill down there. It actually asks some questions about family dynamics and family, kind of that family integration, because a big part of the Iceland model is actually the more time that youth spend with their family, the better off the outcomes are. And it really is a big part of the model is working with families on enhancing that family time. And what does that look like? And so the survey kind of goes over those pieces and really looks at it. But this is a whole bunch of data on kind of the survey that would be implemented. And the only ask that we have from the school is that the school agrees to implement the survey every year for 5 years. And that it will be implemented in middle school and high school in October. It's about an hour-long survey, roughly, that it takes, and it can be taken in pieces. That is possible. I know that Rutland City is looking at doing it in pieces as well. And it's all online-based, meaning that you go to a website and actually fill out the survey from an online base, so that there isn't, so that the data can be transferred pretty easily. And so that's kind of the project in a nutshell. And so the hope would be that we would have kind of a coalition in Rutland City, and then a coalition that would be kind of a sister coalition that would work in partnership here in Fairhaven, that would really be able to learn from each other and what's going well in the different regions, but able to work together as well. Any questions?
The cost associated with this?
So there's a $5,000 cost that can be covered by, there's a couple different funding streams that we have who've come to the table: Vermont Community Foundation, Vermont Children's Trust Fund, and the Bowes Trust. So we can supplement that cost if that's a barrier, but that's what they asked for is $5,000. Ironically enough, because it's a pilot program, the actual cost for it is more like the $50,000 that most communities are going to pay after this, this first rollout. But we get in because they really want to start something and start it here in America, which is exciting.
5,000 per year or 5,000?
Per year.
Per year.
Yep.
What happens after you take the survey?
Great question. So the survey, so the data goes back to Iceland. They evaluate it, and then they give it back to the community. So basically, what we have is that the Iceland researchers actually will come here every year, and they will do a large kind of community meeting somewhere here in Vermont where people can attend, and we actually bring our data with us. And so then they help us interpret that data and say, so what does this mean? You know, if for example, you know, maybe home environment is really, really low. You know, so where else have you seen home environment low? What other countries? And what did you implement that was actually effective? And so they can actually work with community members on figuring out what does that look like here, and what strategies can we put into place based on the community, the capacity that we have, based on strategies that we already have in place. You know, what are the unique pieces that we can put into place in the strategies, and then we put those into place, you know, for the next year, and then we survey again to see, did that change? Did we actually affect change in that area that we were targeting, or did we not? And so then we'll be able to recalibrate based on the data the next year on kind of what changed. The hope is that this is obviously it took Iceland 20 years to see significant change, and so we understand that it's going to take a while to really have those outcomes. We know that kind of like connections, you know, youth connections to adults, youth connections to after school support, all of that kind of stuff is true prevention, right? It's suicide prevention, it's mental health prevention, it's you know, substance abuse prevention. And that really is what this is. This actually goes to those core pieces and really supports youth long term. And when you invest in long term, we know that it takes a while, but those benefits will be seen. It's just a matter of time. And it really is kind of, you know, picking one and really going after it and saying, okay, what is the data saying, so that we can understand, are we in the right direction or not? But then being able to really tell long term, we want to make some strides in these areas.
I have a couple little questions. Here it says it's taken every other year, but you're proposing to take it annually.
I was told it was annually.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And,
I'm not quite sure.
So it's grades 6 through 12, so each grade would take it the same time of year.
Correct.
Is the survey catered to the maturity level of that grade?
I'm not 100% sure about that. I would imagine, because the researchers actually implement this time and time again with many different people. So I would imagine that it's probably catered towards middle school as opposed to high school. And since I haven't seen the actual survey, I can't quite answer that question.
But you're proposing to survey 6th graders all the way up to 12th graders.
Correct. So we chose that because the idea was the middle school and high school, typically they do 7 to 12. But because of the construct of Rutland City and Fairhaven, 6 actually works better because of the population.
And what about families who opt out? Would that be something that?
So families can absolutely opt out. I mean, that's definitely one of those things that we would have to work in. And, you know, and that would be, ideally, you really want to hit the 85%, because then you have a validity percentage of your area that actually took the survey, and then it can be our kids. You know, this is truly the consensus. I think that if we hit 80%, that wouldn't be the end of the world. I think it's just we really want to shoot for 85 to 90%. And I wouldn't imagine that many families would opt out, but I mean, if they opt out, that's totally the family's call.
This is something to be taken during school?
Correct.
Trevor?
When we receive the data back, do we receive it based on the grade that the child is in, or is it just a lump amount of data saying, you're 7 through 12, X% has thought about suicide in the last 6 months or whatever? How does it come back?
I would imagine it would be a one lump sum. Just because I think that that's how it's correlated, so that it makes it easily accessible and understandable for a community level. I would imagine that we could probably get different types of data if you want to look at grade level. That is one thing, if you really want to know, what I can do is I can go back to our contacts and get you that information if that's.
This seems like, all right, if we're gonna keep track of it over a period of time, if we have a particular grade that is very troubled, then all of a sudden they're off the, the following year, they're off the chart, and we see this great influx of, hey, we're doing better, but really we're not doing better, we just
Lost that.
lost the troubled group.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's really what, like the YRBS is the same type of thing, is that they just do across the board and you get those abnormalities. And I think that within research, they actually cut out kind of the extreme abnormalities and go within the 80% typically. And that's how most surveys, they actually correlate. But I think that if you wanted to really look at age specific or grade specific, I think that we could actually ask the researchers if we can have that data.
So after this data,
Oh, yeah?
Can I make just a point on that? I think, to really think about this, think of it with the results and what you're actually going to implement. Most of that is actually not going to be in school. That's really the cool part. It's hard to do that when you're in the school board and you're thinking about the grade specific. And that's the reason why we're at the table on this, because where a lot of the strategy will be implemented and where we're going to be focusing, where we're going to spend money is in what they call the third space. And that's the time when you're not with your family and you're not in school. It's when you're out with your friends and you're doing those things, that discretionary time that you have, and where we can plug them in for where they feel belonging and purpose. So think of it more of the community of the West Side making decisions on how we're going to spend money in infrastructure and planning and engagement for that population outside of the great work you're already doing in the building. Does that make sense? So, like that $500 that's on the card for the kid in Iceland, that's for the child that wants to. I'm going to decide, okay, I have $500. I don't want to leave money on the table. Parents are saying, hey, you got $500, you're going to do something. So I'm going to get into youth theater, or I'm going to get into soccer, or I'm going to join robotics teams, or I'm going to, and that money's paid. And so there's no longer, the barrier's gone because you've incentivized it with the cash on the card, right? So yes, think of it more of outside of these walls and how this community, friends and family, and when you go to your select board, you decide how you're going to dedicate funds or where you're going to focus on.
well, that kind of dovetails what I was going to ask. Like, other than that $500 on the card, what are some specific resources that you offer after this data is synced?
So,
like, what are you doing in homes? What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and those resources are really specific to what the community decides are the priorities. So the resources that I offer is just helping with facilitation. We will help make sure that the facilitation, the community meetings actually happen around youth, and that people are coming to the table. It really is the people that come to the table that really decides what that is. There is a big piece of working, like I said before, of working with families. In Iceland, they actually have a contract that families sign about a curfew. They actually put in a 10 o'clock curfew into effect, and that they found that really, really effective. That they have parents who actually walk around and patrol. Of course, they have cities as well, but they walk around and they patrol and they send kids home after curfew. That might or might not be something that we want to implement here in Vermont. It's very different. It would be pretty hard to kind of walk around some of the rural areas. But there are lots of different strategies, and because these types of things have been implemented in many different countries, they actually pull from lots of strategies as well. And so it could be anything from, like Matt was talking about, it could be, all of a sudden we find out that youth theater is a huge thing and all these kids want to do youth theater. Well, it might be okay, let's figure out and pull pieces together to start a youth theater so that kids have access to that, or, enhancing something else and different types of sports. It could be a lot of different things, but it really is the community that decides that.
I was just going to underscore that piece, that I think when we had some of the initial conversations, sort of our conversation was, what do you need from us? And folks said, what we really need is access to the students and access to the information that they're willing to share, with the expectation that that feedback then goes to your various community groups. And Fairhaven is a community who's been also the recipient of some funds to be able to do some more community engagement activities and to develop more of a community center. So I think the timing is right for a lot of different, more civic organizations to get involved. This is one where we don't have to do a whole lot of the legwork. But the surveyor, the researchers are gonna, look at that data and give us some information back. Not us being the school, but us being that larger community to address the issues.
And do you have ways to get sort of the families in the community more involved? I mean, it has sometimes been a struggle to get people involved, to come to any kind of anything.
Exactly. And sometimes that's a learning process, right? I mean, we're going to hold big community meetings that everybody's involved with childcare, with pizza, that kind of thing. But in reality, a lot of this is a learning piece, right? If we want to, one of this is that we need to have youth at these large meetings, right? If we're going to implement strategies for youth, we have to have them there. And they have to be a pretty significant portion of that group. Well, families is the same. We have to make it a priority and maybe figure out access for families and reduce those barriers for families to actually be at these meetings, because if we're implementing strategies for them, then they need to be there at the table. And so we're trying to figure that out. We're going to hold meetings, and one of the benefits is that we get to try it out, and we get to hold, if we don't have a certain portion of the population that we need to have there, then it really is kind of that team coming together and saying, okay, so how do we get that there? Do we need to change the location? Do we need to provide transportation? Whatever it is. Yeah.
I also think this is timely, Chris, because we do have a problem in this community. We have a marijuana problem, we have a vaping problem, we have depression problems, we have anxiety, we have problems. We have significant problems in this community. So this is an opportunity to actually do something about it, and hopefully be able to have some results and pour some effort into it, or to say no and not do anything and continue to have the problem that we have. But we do have a problem, so I think it's timely that way too.
I guess my follow-up question to that is, we know what some of our problems are. Do they take sort of our feedback in formulating some of their questions? I mean, it has some of that in here, but like things like vaping, we know quite a bit of percentage of the high school all vape. I mean, can that be a question on the survey? I mean, those sort of things?
I think one of the benefits is that the survey is one tool, right? So the survey will be implemented, it will come back. Ideally, that will come back with the YRBS data, with the perception data, of people who are in the school system can all come to the table. You basically bring all this data together and say, okay, so based on this data, this is the plan that we want to implement, or this is one portion of the plan that we want to implement this year. Because this tool, if this is skewed in any way, like if they don't have questions about vaping, for example, then perception, you can bring perception to the table and say, okay, so vaping's a problem, but we also know that if we take the step back, the causes of the causes of the causes, like we know that's the same issues with vaping as with alcohol, as with suicide. Like there are still these belonging and a value are kind of those inherent things that youth are just losing. They don't have that sense of belonging. They don't have that sense of value. And these are the results.
It's important to note we're still going to have those sort of surgical prevention efforts on smoking and vaping, and we spend a lot of time on that. I'm more concerned, quite honestly, that we're number one in the nation for cocaine use from 17 to 25.
Yeah.
Things like that. So,
but I also worry about the girls in 6th grade who worry about being too fat and are eating, I mean, there's so many different issues that are addressing the kids.
And that's why I really like the reason that Project Vision, the police department specifically, is involved, and we were all in on this, is because it goes back, everything goes back to the neighborhood, right? Everything goes back to somebody's living room in a home with neighbors and friends or whatever. You know, what are those environmental factors through this strategy that we can affect that change how we see the world, where we fit in the world, how our, you know, the mentorship, I love Mentor Connector, and we want to have mentorship at all levels, not just, you know, adults mentoring youth, youth mentoring youth, towns mentoring towns, fathers mentoring young fathers that are coming out of incarceration. All of those things are going to, in my opinion, are going to be part of the strategy. And I think is how creative we can be to engage is going to really reflect on the outcome, probably directly. So this is an opportunity, you know, to kind of take this in. If you can maybe even Google some of the isometric model stuff when you have some time. There's really no limit as to how creative a community can be, and again, how much, you know, a community wants to invest in the process. Some maybe more than others.
And I just
Go
want to
ahead,
say, just having been at this meeting, the number of people at the table was really significant. I mean, there were so many organizations there, I can't really tell you how many there were. The place was packed. But the thing that I took away, a couple of things I took away, but one was it's not all on the back of the schools. And that's typically what many of our programs have been. You know, any kind of social programs that we try to do in our schools, unfortunately, we don't have the means to kind of tie all of our organizations together. And I felt like that was a really, you know, I felt that was one of the biggest benefits from partnering with this group.
And we're talking about community. Are we talking about Fairhaven, or are we talking about every single town as a community? Is it one lump sum focused in Fairhaven, or how do you do that when so many different schools come to Fairhaven? Do you
Our
understand what I'm?
geographical outline is pretty big, and what might be in Orwell and Benson may be different than Fairhaven, but Fairhaven's going to have a bigger pool of students because there's less children in those two towns. So how do you work that? And not only that, you know, there's, you know, what kids do in Orwell is going to be different than Fairhaven, or which way they go. They might not come this way.
Absolutely. Which is absolutely true. I think historically, from my experience, what we've done is we've done a Rutland County, we've done this thing for Rutland County, right? And it's based out of the city because that's where the population is. And everybody in the rural areas gets forgotten. And that's what we didn't want to do with this, right? We wanted it to be specifically like not just the city and everybody else kind of, you get these strategies because we're doing it in the city. We really wanted it to be based within the community and within the rural areas, and that is one of those pieces. So the truth is we don't know. We don't know what those boundaries would be. It would be whoever kind of comes to the table and says, yes, we want to come to the table and this is important. And that would be more so the community piece, so the second tier of the community kind of coming together. I think that the survey, it would be easiest with the survey to implement it across the district. And so then everybody across the district takes this, and so then everybody is able to say this is our community.
Just in addition to looking at the results based on age, it might be beneficial to look at the results based on location as well.
That's why we're kind of excited to do one that's not, you know, obviously we're city-centric, right? But the strategies for youth engagement they are how people connect and interact and do things, you know, in Orwell and Benson is different than Maple and Pine, right? So having that and coming back with researchers that have been all over the world saying, well, in this rural community, in this area, this is what worked. And one of the people that was at one of the meetings was one of the state directors for 4-H. There's actually a lot to do in the country that I didn't know about, all right? So, you know, my ignorance, but those programs are out there in rural communities, but how do they network? How do they start collaborate? You know, it's kind of easy. It's not easy, but it's easier in the city to collaborate when I just walk down the street, knock on the door, hey, John, you know, we're doing this. Can we just meet for coffee? Walk down the street a little bit more and we have coffee. You know, how that happens in the rural area will be different. Do you do regional sort of rounds of sort of block parties or equivalent of a block party, but you find wherever, at some point in place in Benson, everybody goes to that the stage in and has a piece of pie like this big, right? And that's where you have your meeting. Those types of things. The opportunities are there. It is a little bit more difficult, but I also think that when I talk to people from the west side, you guys are really tight. And even though you're spaced out, you all know each other and you know who has their strengths and talents and gifts. And I don't think it's going to be as big a problem as people think it is. Geography is geography, space is space, but where you all meet are still the same.
So what are they looking for from us?
So I don't think anything today, but I think,
Well-
because what's the time frame for us to, we would have to approve the survey because that's our job, and then obviously money allocation too. What's the time frame that you would need those from us?
So we would probably need those by, I would say, April-ish.
Okay.
I mean, because we don't have to necessarily have a final decision before then. What I would say is that the earlier that there is an approval, the earlier we'll know, and so we can actually start planning on that and bringing the community together to create the community piece of bringing people together so that they know that this is going on and kind of getting people ready.
Okay. And then the $5,000 as well paid at that time?
That would probably be more September.
More September, so that could be in next year's budget. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, gotcha. All right.
What happens after 5 years? You said it was a 5-year thing.
So
For $5,000, if we keep going, does it go up to 50?
So after 5 years, our hope is to transition all of the data to Castleton. We don't know if they'll do it or not.
Oh,
but
Castleton
we-
University?
Castleton. We want to keep on doing the survey because the survey is really the driver, right? The survey gives us that information of what's working and what's not. And so if we can continue that and we can do it in-house, then we will then have access to all that data and we can just keep on going. Even if it's maybe not the exact same survey, we can tweak it, we can work with survey, researchers to kind of do something different. But we will have the background of all of this data, of all of these strategies that we've used, some that have worked, some that haven't, and then we'll be able to continue. So this, for us, is more of a 20-year project that we're hoping to really have the most amazing youth in America in 20 years. But we know it's going to take time. And they already have the survey, so we don't have to wait on somebody else creating the survey.
Right. Any other questions or thoughts? So I'd like to put the survey on the next agenda. So if anybody wants to do their own kind of, background looking or Googling things or figuring anything out between now and next meeting would be fantastic, because I'd like to have it
It
on the next
included a
agenda.
short link in my board report as well,
Okay.
with a link to some articles.
Okay, awesome. Excellent. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
All right, committee reports. Slate Valley Innovation Committee, I was not at the last meeting.
I was.
You were?
I was.
All right, let us know, Peter, how'd it go?
They've been good. So we talked to Dean and Jan's, whatever.
Okay.
They're getting a paper. Angeletto's. He's from Johnson Control.
Oh, okay.
So he talked about doing a audit, basically a survey on the buildings to see where we can save energy on all the different buildings, and saving energy and then making them pay for themselves in either like 10, 15, or 20 years, whatever worked out the best. So, it will look at everything from windows to maybe doing some solar to upgrading heating and ventilation and things like that. And the object of it is for it to pay for itself, so that you, over like 15, 20 years, you don't have to basically out of pocket. The money you're saving is supposed to pay for it. So basically he just went over all of that. And it's a guaranteed, they do it so it's guaranteed that that's the way it will work. They're doing one in Rutland right now. They're
And it's a
finishing it
national
up.
company.
Yes, Johnson Control's a national company. And there's different ways of financing it. They have people they can finance it through, or we can do something ourselves.
So are they gonna come in? Is that, I'm not following.
Yeah, okay, so what they're proposing is they're gonna come in and look at all the buildings and give us a preliminary report of what they think and where we can save money, and then we'll have to go through it. And if, we wanna go ahead with it, some things because of the high school project and all that already, some of it may not fit in through them, and some of it might. We'll have to go through and figure that part out.
I mean, I would recommend, we got the letter here, that maybe we put this on the Building and Grounds Committee agenda on the 26th, so we can dive into a little more detail, so everybody's got some background on what it is and what it isn't, just so we can discuss it. And then, I mean, their committee discussed it, they liked it, but it goes hand in hand with the Building and Grounds and what our vision is for the buildings moving forward. I mean, some of the stuff we might be able to do internally and not have to use this for financing. Some we might need to do it for financing. So.
Well, the thing of it is, though, that this initial evaluation doesn't cost us anything.
Correct, but
They
I don't
come in
want
and
'em-
evaluate see where the different areas are, and then they come back and we go over it. Maybe Building and Grounds at that point should go over after we get that survey back, seeing what they think are the priorities for savings.
I just don't want to run wild on what, things that we've already tackled and are working on and have plans for.
Well,
I think they need a little bit of direction and not
Yeah.
just hey, go wild and check out everything. I think that's the wrong path to take with it. I think we should discuss it first before we.
Well, and they weren't gonna do that, from what I understood.
Yeah, I do.
They weren't gonna do that, though, Chris, from what I understood. They were gonna utilize the people in the buildings to go with them. Isn't that right, Pete?
Yeah.
Weren't they gonna
Oh, right,
utilize?
they weren't just gonna walk around, but.
No.
Well, what he's saying, I think, I agree with Chris, maybe we should, as Building and Ground, should go over it, so when he is talking to them, he has some guidance, and whoever's doing it knows what they're doing and talking about.
So you have Building and Grounds at the 26th, right before the next board meeting.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And we need
I
to
didn't feel like
approve.
I had all the ammunition, if you will, during that proposal, I didn't, it's not
Right.
my background.
Right.
When do we need to approve this by?
Well, I mean, I think you just need to kind of give the go-ahead for the initial,
So however.
assessment,
Okay.
but you could even make a motion to leave that up to the Building and Grounds Committee. That's totally up to you. And, but if you were going to do it, it is going to be time sensitive because it needs to correspond with the innovation project and the bond vote and all of that.
So can I have a motion to allow the Buildings and Grounds Committee to kind of complete the process? And we just approve the process?
So moved.
Second. Any questions, concerns? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Chris. All right, Executive Committee, Superintendent Evaluation, Tim.
Yes, the executive committee met earlier this evening before this school board meeting, and we met with Sue Zaglowski, who is a representative of VSBA, Vermont School Boards Association, and they are going to kind of act as a consultant to lead us through the process regarding the evaluation for Brooke. So we just discussed the process, we discussed and went over the job description that we have on file for our superintendent. That job description is a match. It's the same job description that the VSBA recommends for a superintendent. We went through a rubric, which kind of just rubric/survey that just details all the different categories of her job descriptions and how she may or may not be meeting those expectations. So the process it's survey oriented. The survey is going to go out to 3 parties. One of those parties is this entire school board. So we do want everyone to participate in that survey. I would expect the survey to land in your inbox within the next few weeks. And just be mindful too that the survey touches on a lot of different areas. Some of the areas we are not going to have intimate knowledge of. We're not going to be able to answer that question because we don't know the inner workings of how Brooke might do her job in a particular area. So we just want you to use your judgment. If you feel you have an opinion, if you have enough information to answer the survey question, go ahead and do that. If you don't have enough information to answer the question, there is the option to just say not enough information and basically you pass. So the school board is one group that gets that survey. The second group is administration, central office, principals in our schools. They will get that survey as well. And then the third group, I think, obviously Brooke herself will fill the survey out herself. So the SBA just kind of, they will disseminate the survey. They will tabulate all the results and give those results back to the executive committee to discuss further. So are there any questions? So again, look for that survey over the next few weeks. Please respond and fill out the survey in a timely manner. I think we have 2 weeks to fill it out. And if you have any questions, you can email me.
Perfect. Any questions? All right, great, thank you. All right, we did Project Vision, board resignation. So we have 2 board resignations. One is from Mike Fallis, who is informing us of his resignation effective today. Their family has relocated to Weybridge and no longer reside in Hubbardton. He is thankful to Brooke and the staff and other members of the board for their effort, dedication, and tolerance for my many questions. I have learned a lot while on the board. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the town of Hubbardton in this role. Wish you all the best and look forward to hearing great things about this district. And the other one is from Jonathan, so it's Hubbardton, this is West Haven, Jonathan Oakman. It is with regret that I, Jonathan Oakman, am writing to inform you of my decision to resign on the effective date above. His other business, coaching, and personal obligations have become too great to fulfill these requirements. So it's with a heavy heart he steps aside to make room for someone else. It's been a pleasure serving on all the boards. He lists them all. And he's excited to see what the new union will accomplish. And that was from Jonathan Oakman. So we have 2 open positions now, or 3?
You have 3 because we have not done anything with Shannon
Shannon's.
Baldwin.
So
we have not had any
2
interest.
Hubbardton openings and 1 West Haven opening at this point, so. Oh, I have to make a motion, yes. Somebody make a motion. Can we do them separate? Do them separately?
I'll make a motion
Yeah, to accept them both. Thank you.
Second.
Yes.
Question about that. And so do we reach out to the select boards in those towns?
So they will get the select board will get a letter notifying them that there's a vacancy from Tara, actually, who's the board clerk, right? So I'll write up the letter tomorrow and have you come in and sign it. But it's this board that appoints.
But the select boards will
Be notified and, right.
Any other questions?
Are we going to put them in newspapers or?
Well, we've been advertising for the current Hubbardton position and we have not had any interest.
Where has that been posted?
I can go back and look, but I believe it was in the Herald. It's been in different bulletins, free press. So, we'll go ahead and redo it again, especially with this additional vacancy. So if anyone knows of anyone, that would be wonderful. Because right now, without having those 3 board members on the board, that's automatically 3 no's for a meeting. So quorums could get difficult.
Because we still have to have a quorum of the entire board.
Of 18.
Of 18.
So it's
Okay.
not like you have a quorum of 3 less, so,
Gotcha.
of 15, so.
Yep. Okay.
So we need, how many to have a quorum?
10?
9,
We'd actually need 10.
10.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent, thank you. Fairhaven Grade School property transfer. I'm assuming that's this lovely highlighted piece of paper.
I did the coloring today.
It's awesome. Good job, Chris. In the lines.
You got new highlighters.
That's kindergarten, now he stole mine.
Very nice.
So, is everybody familiar with the
the story.
We've had the background of this, or do you want me to
The
start from?
back, so this is the back of Fairhaven Grade School, ball fields and playground and stuff, and there was a
Parking lot.
parking lot, and there was kind of this interesting town-school relationship of who used what and where the lines were, and we had to
Correct.
figure it out. All right.
Correct. So when you take a look at the map, when we went to transfer the property
Last year.
last April, May, from the Fairhaven Town School District into the Slate Valley Modified Unified School District, we had surveys. We didn't have a survey. We had all the title work done on it. And what we found with the title work is property that the town thought they owned, the school district owned, and property the school district owned, thought they owned, the town actually owned. So what we've done is I've worked on this project since then. We've spent about $10,000 on this project. This map cost $7,500 to get done. And then Brooke and I probably have another $2,500 in attorney's fees. At this point, the school board is the only one that's paid on that. The town has not offered to pay any of the costs of the transfer. So with that, what was original? So the yellow line going around the properties, that is what currently is on the books for the Slate Modified Unified School District owning that land. Okay?
The big piece.
The big piece.
Yep.
Okay? The section that's surrounded in orange, which is the back parking lot of the Fairhaven Grade School, including about probably 10 feet into the building, is currently owned by the town of Fairhaven. Okay? So it got really complicated quickly with the fact that this piece of property is located in a flood zone. So with that, we had to get the state of Vermont involved. And we thought we were going to have to get a subdivision, which we probably would have never gotten a subdivision because you have to do septic and wells and all that stuff, and we would have probably not been able to do that. So that letter Chelsea sent to your email.
Yep.
So what we did is we applied for a lot line adjustment. Okay? And a lot line adjustment is usually a small movement of a property line. So we had, because it included so much over what is allowed, the law allows you to go for an exemption. So we applied, our attorney applied for exemption with the state of Vermont. And the state of Vermont did grant that exemption for a lot line adjustment. So we're not necessarily transferring property, we are adjusting the lines of the property down there. So the lot line adjustment is, if you look at the purple line towards the top right.
Pink there?
Yeah, it's pinkish purple.
Yep.
Yeah, so that.
Casey.
Be quiet. So Casey's red line, that would be what would be the lot line adjustment. The town of Fairhaven would take almost 2.5 acres of the property. Okay, so they're getting quite a bit of property with the lot line adjustment.
We would take the blue.
The school district would take the blue shaded area. So they would take the 1.13 acres of the orange minus a little bit. See how it's sliced on the top of that parking lot?
Yep.
So it follows basically the slope of the parking lot down through, and then it cuts over right along the pavement lines. So if you guys are fine with a lot line adjustment, our attorneys prepared a property line agreement and easement deed for Julie to sign.
Okay.
We would just need a motion for the board to authorize Julie to sign.
The, sorry.
Go
The
ahead.
community of Fairhaven, as far as transferring all of the fields to the community, is that anything, access or maintenance or liabilities?
No, they actually, the new property lines get drawn in here and that's their property.
No, but as far as us using them.
Yeah, in the easement deed, there's a statement that says we can continue using it for recreation. And then they can continue using the parking area for events that they may have on the fields.
And then maintenance?
They're responsible
They're
for
responsible,
maintenance.
okay.
It's their property.
Okay,
They maintain it now as well.
Yep.
okay.
I mean, I have a copy of the deed if anybody wants. It's not really a deed, but
The
it's an
letter,
easement.
yep.
If you guys wanna.
So they're gonna own everything in pink and we're gonna own everything in blue.
Yep.
Liability insurance, if anything were to happen over there during,
It's their property and they would have to carry the insurance on it. I mean, for the deed, or the easement, we have a right to use it for recreation.
They already do. They already
Yeah,
do.
we're-
Yeah, they already do use it with liability insurance.
I was just thinking,
Yeah.
Correct.
work
And it's the-
comp and those sort of things, if
Yep.
it was to happen off
Yep.
property.
Yep.
But there are employees during school hours, so, and students, so we would,
And it's the same thing in reverse. We have liability if people are parking in the parking lot to go down the hill, which is pretty steep into the fields. We would always have liability, but I think it's the same for each.
So we have like equipment, like on the play, like, you know,
It's not our it's all.
don't we have
town.
like cameras and stuff down there? No, we don't have cameras on the playground?
No, they're on the building.
We have put cameras on the playground.
you can see the playground from the building, but they're on the building.
Not to get into too much detail on where we have cameras, but we can see the playground. It's just they're not on
Playground.
the playground.
So you need a motion
Yep.
to allow us to move forward with the lot line adjustment.
To allow Julie to sign
Julie to sign.
the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions?
Has the select board been made aware of this? Or they-
Yep, they have to also take action on it. They had an initial review, I think, their last meeting, and are hopefully taking action on it at the next select board meeting.
Are we gonna ask them to pay a portion of it?
We had we have. But it wasn't
Answer is no?
successful.
There will-
Yep.
Yeah.
Given a rationale for why not? I mean, it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as far as who pays, but
If you would like us to officially ask again, we can do so in writing.
snow plowing in the state of Vermont. But,
I mean, the charge from this.
I don't know, just because,
char-
you know,
we talked
years from
about
now.
it.
Maybe you should go ask him what the deal is.
I think years from now, it'd be good to have a bill.
I would
you know,
mind.
Something, some letter or something.
We had talked prior about this
Why are you asking me?
arrangement
Because you're from
way
Fairhaven.
back at the
Oh,
point.
over a year
And at
ago.
that point, you guys just told me to get it done, so
So,
it's
I'm not
done.
going and asking.
I'd say we just get it done. and-
Rick,
I thought
Move
that.
on.
What's that?
Need to.
go talk to the select board, ask them why they won't help pay some.
I know what they're gonna tell us, so.
I can,
My preference, so you guys do whatever you want, is just move on and get it done. Get it taken care of.
I
And
agree, move on.
Move on, because. I would suggest though that we have something in the minutes that does clearly
Reflect
state,
that they-
even at this point in time, even though we did do it a year or so ago, just to say exactly what just happened, you know, that. You know, we've asked the select board or the town of Fairhaven to
Yep.
pay for half of the, you know,
Yep.
and have not been, you know, they have said no.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next, we are on to contracts,
Resignations.
resignation. Oh, resignations, gotcha.
So
Oh,
this is a resignation for a nurse, school nurse that you hired in May to start at the beginning of this school year, but has resigned prior to the start of the school year, so I don't know. You don't want to, you don't have to read it. So Tanya Stone, has submitted a letter of resignation. So,
I guess this is she must do what's best for her family. Leave it at that. So we just need to accept it? So can I have a
Correct.
motion, please?
Accept the letter of resignation.
Perfect.
Is there
Any
any
other
like
questions?
healthcare type issue there?
no.
She didn't receive any benefits?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Is that it for resignations?
That is it for resignations.
Okay, so we're on to contracts.
Somebody wanna read that? Oh.
She was, sorry to back up, she was a nurse?
We hired her for a nursing position, but
She never started.
she didn't start, but we issued her a contract.
So contracts. Good.
Yep, contract for Eric Gross, English teacher, it's actually amended contract for $52,442. Archie Clark, middle school teacher, amended contract, $48,076. Laura Bud, thank you, school-based clinician, $62,692. Kathy Clark, physical education teacher, $61,173. That's it.
Second.
Any questions? Do you need
Kathy Clark Castleton?
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't state where on that.
Oh, yes, for PE.
Yep.
Yep. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I can't
There's
write
no,
and tell off.
we don't have a resignation for a counselor here at Fairhaven?
Not yet. We just posted it as anticipated. I mean, not yet.
Who's getting done up here?
It's hard to think and write, just a second. Central office report.
So questions on the central office report? We want to make sure that board members know that you are invited to join us on opening in-service day at 8:30 here at the high school. For the first hour or so, we will present the awards for last year and talk about the direction for this coming year. So you're certainly invited to attend here at the high school at 8:30 on Friday, the 23rd. So,
Excellent.
other questions on the report? Was everybody able to access their email too? with
Yes,
the new?
with our special victims unit in Vermont. Just saying.
Special.
We are special. All right, all right, moving on then. We have to do, fuel, oil, and propane bid, just giving us numbers.
Yeah, so propane, we only received one bid from Files. Fixed price was $1.36, and the alternate, which is if you prepay the whole year, was $1.29.
That's good.
So in the past, we've always, for propane at least, we paid the prepay. So we'll probably go with the $1.29 for, it was, I think it was 8,100 gallons.
That's for cooking and stuff, right?
How does that compare to last year?
Last year, I think we were higher. I think it was like 154. So it's down. Fuel oil, the low bid was from Champlain Valley Fuels again, which is who we currently have. Fixed price was $2.12 per gallon. The prepay, if you prepay all 81,000 or 85,000 gallons, is $2.05. This one I would probably go with the $2.12, only because they've been great to us in the past. If the price falls, like we locked in at $2.55 a gallon last year, and we were getting bills at like $2.20, $2.25. So they follow the market down and they give us really a good price on it. They really only use that price to cap what we pay on it. So they've been really good to us.
Okay, cool.
The $2.12 is great. I think we budgeted around $2.50 per gallon for that.
Okay.
And that's about 85,000 gallons of fuel.
Awesome. All right. Let's see, on to warrants. Does anybody have the top sheet? You, Trevor?
I got it.
All right, perfect.
So I've got numbers here for Orwell, Slate Valley, Arsu. Just read them off like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have like to make a motion to accept warrants for Orwell in the amount of $102,390.39.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept warrants in the amount of $2,222,651.66 for Slate Valley.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Make a motion for ARSU payments in the amount of $915,336.08.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Food warrants, I'd like to make a motion for food warrants in the amount of $127,670.41.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
To make a motion for grant warrants in the amount of $72,948.86.
Second?
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? How, we just pay ARSU till it's over and done with?
Yep.
So it might go on for a little bit to have
Yep.
ARSU money?
Yep.
All right.
I mean, Paula
Same with
was
Orwell,
trying,
too.
right,
Usually
and
it's about
Paula
a
was
year.
trying to give us,
Okay.
most of them tonight so we could finish up the bulk of them.
Okay. All right, awesome. All right, we need a motion to go into executive session for a student matter. To include the administration. Will we be taking action?
Yes.
We will be taking action.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, we're into. But beginning of the year is always nice versus throughout the year.
I can have principals do a report for the
I
next
was
meeting.
just mostly interested in if we added programs, eliminated programs, changed how programs are presented to anybody.
Do you mean curriculum, like, related, or like
Schedule related.
schedule related?
Curriculum,
Okay,
I suppose.
any of it?
I mean, it would be
Yeah,
good to
yeah,
know.
okay.
I mean, and have we gotten everyone on the same schedule now? I mean, wasn't that a big thing?
That was a,
You're not going to be able to do that unless you address the personnel that we have in schools. We've hired different personnel over the years that are specializing in different areas, so that's going to be very difficult to do in our current configuration. For example, like right now, I mean, it's something we're working on, but there's extra science at Castleton Village School. There's extra, I mean, you have different personnel in different places. So it's certainly something that we can work on, but it's not something that's easily done. And so I think at the time when we were discussing it, if we were going to be moving forward with a district middle school, that would be the appropriate time to take care of that. I mean, because otherwise it's 2 years, I mean.
But I think in the meantime, it would be nice to know where those discrepancies lay the greatest.
Yep, okay.
I mean, I've gone go
We
back
have it.
and listen
That we've-
to it again, because the other day I was listening to a talk show, and there was somebody from, I believe from the Agency of Education, but I've got to double check that, but they were talking about the Vermont workforce, and right now the statement was that only 24% of all jobs in the state of Vermont require a 4-year degree. And they were saying we need to focus on the other 76% of our students. And so that they can come out of school ready to go to do something meaningful.
I think just an opening principals report, right? What's your school year look like? What are some changes? I mean, we've got new principals.
Yeah.
In some places too. It'd be nice to know if they've.
Class distribution or
Yep.
offerings to
Yep.
old age groups.
Yep.
But in writing would be nice, and then if they wanted to maybe.
Well, they would be here at the next
They
meeting,
would be
so
here at
they
the
could
next meeting
follow
anyways.
up.
Yeah, with questions. Yep. And then Casey he usually puts it in his, right, if there's any big changes?
Well, I didn't see anything in this month's.
Okay.
The opening letters coming out, what prompted me was just reading our school's opening letter, and I was like, oh, that's different. Okay, what else is different that is out there?
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. Yep.
Gotcha.
We can do that.
My other question was, because I didn't, unless I missed, I didn't see it in Cheryl's report, but how did we end last year financially?
I would have to, huh?
I said I think we're still ending
I think
it.
she's still ending it. She's on vacation this week, and next week we have the audit, but, you know, as you know, the transition to e-finance has been difficult. I mean, I know we ended in good shape, but I don't have the specific numbers. I can certainly, she can probably have that for you at the next meeting.
All right. Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed?